David Watts here with another Luminar Neptune version 1.20. A little video on how I make some edits, and I hope it might help you just a bit. This one looks at saturation and vibrance in a landscape photo and how it may be able to help us. This is a JPEG, not using a raw file this time. This is from the Big Bend area, the Big Bend National Park down in Texas. Fabulous park if you want to go somewhere that's relatively deserted. Outstanding dark skies if you want to try to do some night photography of the Milky Way. Just fabulous place. Anyway, let me show you a quick edit and something that might work for you with respect to saturation and vibrance and Luminar on this kind of image. As you may know if you've seen my other videos, I like to start with a good straight horizon. Never hurts to have that out of the way. And so using a little bit of this road here and just the line that was created with the grid, that gives us a pretty straight horizon there. Okay, I like to always hit the accent AI filter for a little bit of boost, and that seems to make an improvement. It's probably somewhat subtle, and that's okay. And I just find it works pretty good just to start right about there at the end of the word boost and see what that does. Also, think it's interesting to bring in a little bit of clarity, structure. And typically I'll start about halfway between that middle mark and the end of it. And I'll say that's too much, and then I back it off about halfway back. And I usually find a sweet spot in there somewhere. A little bit of clarity, and again, usually somewhere around that word amount seems to be enough for my taste. But here's the real thing I wanted to show. Take the saturation and vibrance filter. Back the saturation way off. Now you're going to say, oh, that makes it really desaturated and kind of dull. It's okay. Try this. Maybe it doesn't work for all your photos. Maybe it doesn't work for you, but I think it has something to offer. Come down here to vibrance. Bring vibrance up quite a bit. So we've dropped saturation kind of in half. That's where I tend to start with things. Back it off by half and bring vibrance up halfway or maybe 2/3 of the way. And compare the difference. So here it was before and here it was after. Now it's definitely less saturated. But here's the thing I notice. We turn the filter off. Look in this area here. There's a lot of grass. There's some kind of brown grass, some yellows, some little pockets of green, but it's all kind of mushy. It's just running together, at least to my eye. But when I do the saturation like I've described, I back it way off, I bring the vibrance up. All of a sudden, at least to my eyes, I got real clear pockets of green. I still got my yellows there. They're a little subdued, but I still got these browns and grays. And so to me, it really works to turn this from sort of a mushy area into something with more color detail, if that makes sense, or some color distinction. If you think I've brought the saturation down too far, well, I'll bring it back up just a little, but it won't take much. If you're looking like me to retain these green areas, sort of the subtle tones, I think that may work well, and I like it. So again, let's see what we've got just for a real quick sort of edit. We did the accent filter, we brought structure up, a little bit of clarity, and then we did this thing with saturation and vibrance. There's the original, and here's where we ended up, and I think it's better. By the way, something popped out. A little bit of a rainbow right there. Looks like it continues up in here just a bit, and maybe very faintly this direction. So just something lurking out there. Even though this was a JPEG, there was some data out there that we weren't really bringing to light. Probably get even better results if we had a raw file. If you've seen my other video on that subject, feel free to check it out. But otherwise, that's the key thing I wanted to show you. Consider, in this kind of landscape, drop that saturation, bring that vibrance way up, and see what happens. I tend to think of saturation as a big kind of coarse adjustment. It takes all the colors and really ramps them up. Vibrance is more subtle, I think. And I think just does a better job in many cases. Now we often are told vibrance really protects skin tones. So if you boost saturation in a photo with people, their faces turn funny colors. So we typically use vibrance, and I kind of wonder if that's why if vibrance tries to respect those skin tones, if this kind of grayish area in here is close enough to typical skin tones that maybe it's protecting it just a bit and not obscuring things so much. So one final time, here it is sort of without that saturation adjustment. Again, to me, the colors just all run together. And with the saturation and the vibrance boosted, the saturation dropped a bit, just feels more realistic to me. Anyway, just my perspective. Hope that might help. Have fun and have a good day. Happy editing.